I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I am your host, Coach Phil, and today it's almost going to be titleless, but not quite. I have a friend that I met because of COVID, and we got together through a online group, and as a result of that, created a friendship. Even though he's in a different country, different state, and we don't even have states in Canada. And I leveraged his book way back when I first got started with the Business Renovator and talking about the 365 days of the year, a book that he wrote, Customer Delight. We may talk about that a little bit today because it was quite the journey that he was on. And we're going to talk about a number of different things, but this is just a conversation between two interesting dudes. Going to be authentically ourselves and share a message or two or an idea. We might even tell a joke. In the meantime, I want to do a shameless plug for my coaching business. So here we go. So if you want to find out what your business growth score is, all you need to do is go to my website, coachphil.ca. Top right-hand corner is the button to click on the survey assessment and answer the questions, and you'll get some feedback as to where you are. You might find that you're in the ideal place, or you might find there's room for improvement. And if you have a question for a business coach, guess what? I am one. And I have a wonderful group of business coaches around the globe. So if I can't answer your question, I can introduce you to somebody who can. So if you're watching this live today with us, that's fantastic. Thank you for being here. And if you're catching us on the replay, remember, hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching us from. The other thing to consider too is we have a YouTube channel. We're working on building up the subscription list. So if you would like to help us out with that so other people can see what we're about and share it with your community, we would really appreciate that and appreciate your kindness. So I'm not going to wait any longer, and I'm going to get him to introduce himself. My guest is the one and only, Brian Monahan. Welcome to the Business Renovator.
Thanks, Coach Phil. It's a pleasure to be here. Hey, I wanted to comment. Hey, is your typing or your handwriting faster? That was pretty impressive. You drew out your logo in like 2 seconds there.
Yeah, I'm pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, pretty impressive. I mean, is that a COVID skill that you picked up or what?
Well, it's one of many, but that actually wasn't me.
Right. I figured as much, but
but one thing we had to do, talking about copyright things, we weren't, but I'm going to. The soundtrack that was on that video before was something that was getting me into doo-doo with the Facebook police in different regions of the world saying it's infringing on copyright law. So I hadn't created the original one. So I thought, well, my song, the intro song, that is original and is copywritten to myself and the artist, writer, performer. So we both have rights to that. So it's not that. So it had to be that intro about focal point coaching. So I had it edited and changed it a little bit and put a different song on there. And since doing that, I haven't had an issue. So be careful what you're using. Make sure you're being authentic. I thought it was approved by and the copyright was okay because it was done by another coach who's not with the company anymore, and apparently not. So be careful what you're using. It's like your book. I mean, you've given me a digital copy, and I could probably give it away as many times as I want to. But I always ask you before I do that in case you change your mind.
No, I appreciate that. And interesting enough, I'm here to talk about my life's journey a little bit, get to know people get to know me a little bit, and how I might be able to help some entrepreneurs with their careers and their path. But my primary career has been in the audiovisual and production. I'm a VP of sales for an AV company in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the U.S. And this is copyright things are always a major challenge for us, and that is something that can come up from time to time. Like a lot of live streams, we find ourselves broadcasting. If people want to go to YouTube or want to go to Facebook, those are semi-public places, and you are going to run into some different possible copyright type scenarios, and you're not 100% in control. You may own the license, but you never know if Facebook's going to say, "Hey, I don't know what," and they're going to knock you down. So it's always good to have a backup plan in that space. So
one of the things you didn't mention, and maybe people have already figured it out because I mentioned you authored a book. You are an author of a book, and the book is called Customer Delight 365. Let's start there, because I know that I leveraged that book. I got a copy from you, and you signed it for me. That's awesome. And I used it for the first year of going live with the Business Renovator. And every day that I did one of these, I would use that at the beginning of my show, pick a quote, read your take on it, and add my own twist to it as well. I found, going through the uncertainty of 2020, it was a gift from way out there somewhere.
Yeah, that was. Well, one is, I remember the day you pulled my book out. I was on I don't know if you were calling it the Business Renovator then or not, but I remember following your show. You pulled it out and you start reading a quote, and I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. I love it. That was like the ultimate. When I wrote the book, I'll have to be honest, I actually have been trained as a personal coach as well. And so I've, been studying how people are motivated and what helps people move forward. And I've spent most of my career in sales as well. So I was like, well, I'm going to write a book on customer service. And the idea of the Customer Delight 365 was that, in today's Facebook world, people don't have time to read a book from front to back. They don't have the attention span. So I was like, wouldn't it be great if we had just a really small quote that you could open your day up and look at that, and then have a little passage from me as it relates to delivering great customer service, or as I say, customer delight. And so I just sat down and started writing the book. It took me about a year. And, my vision for the book, you mentioned, we've worked out an agreement that you share this book with some of your clients as a gift. And, my vision is I want it in people's hands. Like, I'm not here. Yes, it's my content. I'm here to protect it. It's my intellectual property. But at the end of the day, I would rather have somebody read an inspirational quote to actually affect their day. And so I loved when you came up with the idea of pulling out the book. I got a copy here, and this is just kind of how it worked. You did this, you opened up whatever day it is. Since we're recording this, and I'm not going to pick out a day, or should we, Phil? I don't know what you think.
Why don't you just pick out a quote?
Yeah, why don't we pick out a quote?
One of the things that you instruct us, why don't I come back on camera? There we go. Look at that magic of technology. So, this is being recorded and be there forever, because that's the way the internet works. So it really doesn't matter what day it was, because I believe you had some, not rules, but some ideas on how to get the most out of it. Read it from the beginning to the end. Take the, whatever day you are. If it's the 51st day, start on the 51st day and carry on, or open it randomly. So often I would open it up randomly, or if I had a topic that was relevant to something out of the book, I would use that quote. So I didn't care what day it was.
Yeah, I called that Delight Roulette, by the way.
Delight.
And so here we go. March 13th. This is a great quote from Christopher Walken. I don't know if it's a quote, but it is from a movie. It's called I Gotta Have More Cowbell. And this was my take on that. Christopher Walken's Saturday Night Live skit from 2000 is a parody of VH1 series Behind the Music. The skit follows the real band Blue Oyster Cult and the fictional cowbell player Gene Frankel. Walken's character gives the band advice on their studio session of Don't Fear the Reaper. He lays down one of the greatest internet memes of all time. Well, guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. Tonk, tonk, tonk. Although this is a parody, the truth is that sometimes delighting your customers is simple as more cowbell. Maybe cowbell isn't the core of your product or service, but a little flourish can go a long way. Dink, dink, dink. So there you go. I thought that one was fun, by the way.
That was fun. Yeah, I've been giving it to the people that I work with, that because I do sales training, and I do it for outside sales, I do it for inside sales, and I do it for the guys and gals on the counter selling. People that are, taken for granted. They're actually the ones that deal with the angry, frustrated, upset people that the outside sales people have got their company to buy the product from this other company. And they're the frontline people that come in when, they have to wait in line to get a piece, or it's out of inventory, supply chain issues. This book has been, along with a friend of ours book. So I use your book and I use this other guy's book. His name's Jeffrey Gittimer.
Well,
any idea which book I included in my training with him?
Little Red Book of Selling?
No, it's yellow.
Yellow. Is it the little yellow book of Can? Or
almost.
Connections?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Attitude, right? So your book with those customer customer delight, right? And then his book because of attitude, because I start off with foundational piece around the attitude. Without attitude, everything was crazy. Like I've had situations personally where I'm going, the experience I've had with the people, I'm thinking, wow, there's an opportunity for me to open up the door and say, you know what, there's some room for improvement for you. Can I share a story that I just had recently?
Absolutely.
My credit card company changed the credit card and were telling me that I needed to do some things to get it done. And they sent me a couple of letters to get it done because I procrastinated. But in the letter, it gives me specific things to do. Pick up the phone, call this number, blah, blah, blah. So I did that. I finally get through to somebody. And they said, no, you can't do that. You have to go to the branch and do that at the branch. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm confused. I get this as a third or fourth piece of paper that I've got. The instructions have been the same. No, we can't do it here. You got to go to the branch. So I hung up and I thought, I'm going to wait 10, 15 minutes, call somebody else. Chances are I won't get the same person. Guess what? I didn't get the same person. They took the information and we got the issue solved. There was not a customer delight moment for that particular bank.
Ooh, yeah, I love rules, right?
Yeah. Rules, and it's not our policy. Right? We as a consumer, we don't care about your policy, so don't bring that up. Yes, you have things you need to do to stay employed, but don't tell us as your consumer or customer you have a policy, right?
No, I think there's two parts to this book actually. Is one is for that customer service rep that probably works for a company that's not very progressive with their ideas and going to get a call from Coach Phil and say, no, the letter says this. They're beat up, so they need a little bit of joy. And that's part of what this book was for. But it was also to inspire managers, leaders to build better organizations so that sales rep is empowered to actually, or customer service rep can say, hey, what if we did this? Or I could do this for you. I know, I have a team that works for me, and my goal is to empower them to make solutions every day. And so when, I say, here's some guidelines, but at the end of the day, an ideal customer service interaction is getting to the solution, not to present a roadblock or a policy. So, and where does that start? Has somebody actually gone back to that letter and say, well, is this letter actually going to get you to completion? And even better yet, to have some fun. Maybe they should send you a sucker or something. Hey, clearly this is no fun. You're gonna have to call into our customer service line. So let's make this more fun. How do we make this an enjoyable process to fix a challenge? with your credit card account information or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so one of the things I get in my training that I do is to get them to say, what's the opportunity in this call? What could you become because of it? How could you make somebody's day a little bit brighter because they got connected to you? Even though it's a problem, what if you were to turn the problem into a challenge or an opportunity to grow your leadership skills?
No, I mean, I think, I'm sure you've read the data about, a challenge that is resolved often leads to greater loyalty of the customer than a customer who just happened to have average service in general.
Yeah.
So, people are understanding. They understand there will be challenges in business, but I think what people are looking for is, do you have the customer's back? Can you solve the problem? Can you create a win out of a challenge? And when you do that, you end up with lifelong customers. And so really, why not put your best people on that call line where the challenges are versus even on the sales side? Yeah. Because your upside's so high.
Absolutely. And you probably already know this, but just in case our audience doesn't, it's interesting that what I'm finding is with many of the people that I work with client-wise that own businesses, they spend a lot of money, time, and energy to acquire customers, and not a ton of money and energy on keeping them. And the strange thing is, it costs way more money and time to find them than it does to keep them and nurture them.
No, I do. Do you care if I share a story now?
I wish you would.
Unfortunately, one of the owners of the company I work for now, he passed in 2015. But one of the best learning lessons I learned from him is that we had a significant challenge with a project. We didn't deliver the product that we had promised. We didn't meet expectation. And so we were always a company that was willing to do right. So we brought the customer in, and, of course, they were pretty irate to start with. And we met with them, and, the owner said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to refund you for this year, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a X% discount next year, and I'm going to do this for you next year. And I was really kind of caught off guard because I was like, wow, you're really, first off, this customer was actually fairly difficult. But he said, when we left, I said, why'd you do that? And he said, well, I want to build into the future. Like we've had a challenge right now. So they're not happy with us. This discount is just barely solving the problem. So I want to provide a solution into the future because I want a client for long haul. And so I thought it just really struck me. I'm like, really changed my mindset when I have a challenge is not only solve the problem that you're facing in the moment, but solve that problem in the future so that you can retain the customer. And that plays into what you're saying is, it's very expensive to find a new customer. It's definitely less expensive to retain one. And so, we moved on to working with that client for many years into the future. And it's just one of the best learning lessons I've learned through my career is just thinking different about those challenges.
Yeah. I think Ken Blanchard wrote a book. I think it was him. Skinny little book, but lots of wisdom in it, called Raving Fans.
Oh, yeah.
And if you create raving fans, your acquisition costs really drop per new customer because raving fans are going to drag their friends, neighbors, and family members to you, metaphorically, with having them already with their credit card out, ready to do business with you. But yeah, it's powerful.
There was a gentleman from Cincinnati where I live. He wrote a book called Happy Customers Will Tell 6 People. I don't know if it's the right numbers. Angry customers will tell 1,000. And so and when he wrote it was probably like in the late 90s. And I'm thinking now, angry customer will probably tell 1 million people with the proliferation of Google reviews and things like that. So
social media, etc. Yeah. So, I think those numbers might be out of whack, but they're not wrong. I don't think. Way before the internet and when I first got into selling, there was a study done, and it was 250 people will be impacted by a negative experience with your company versus 2 or 3 positive, right? So whatever the number is, it's lopsided.
Well, it was a book title, so I'm sure there was a little hyperbole in it, but that was the point. Essentially, that it's very hard to impress people. It's easy to make them mad. So,
well, actually, it's easy we impress people all the time. It's just sometimes not the way we'd like to. Right? I'm impressed by you, just not favorably impressed.
You've left a definite impression on me.
That's right. It's not one you're going to like, but I am impressed. Yes, absolutely. I want to go back to your book a little bit because one of the pillars of the business renovator is talking about mental fitness or / mindset. And I've changed it to mental fitness because I'm actually going down that path and learning how to make this thing more powerful by building up the mental muscle of it. You said it took you a year to write a book. That's pretty impressive. You could have quit. I mean, that's 365 days to write a book. What was the drive and how did you keep going?
What's interesting is actually I would like to share how I went about writing my book. And I think it's not exactly the mechanics of it, but the model for it. Yes. So I chose this book and the model because of the short mind span of the current consumer. Everybody's doing Facebook, LinkedIn, short content. I also chose the format for my own benefit, which is I was going to be writing shorter content, shorter options. My life was busy. I had a 4-year-old daughter who was in preschool when I was writing this. I had limited time to do it. So I knew I could only write in short spans. So I actually created a Google survey to write this book. And any day I was only working on one tiny little piece of the book. And so I would go into a coffee shop and I would have about an hour in front of me. And I would say, I'm going to write 10 passages today. And I would pick 10 quotes. And so I did that over a period of time. To be quite honest, the hardest part of the book was editing. Writing it was the easier part. I probably spent a good 4 months on editing it. One of the things I did was actually I wrote over 400 passages so I could pare it down to 365. And so, but I think your original question is how did I stay motivated on it? And so, I think it's an evolution of life for me. I'd always wanted to write a book, something on my bucket list. And for whatever reason, when I sat down to do this, I had made a commitment. I'm going to see this to fruition. And I scheduled the time. I think that's the other thing is I had a commitment that I was going to get in a minimum of 3 hours a week on the book, tried to do 5 to 6 hours a week. And so just having that minimum commitment, but with an ideal commitment's a good match. You probably teach concepts of that type in your coaching. But I think it's important to have a nice framework for your work, chunk it down, keep it small, because if you try to, eat the shark or eat the elephant, not eat the shark eats the elephant, whatever. But, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so that's how I did the book, a little bit each day.
Yeah, you did say some things that are common with what I'm familiar with, and that's chunk it down. What I also liked about what I heard you say was that you had an end goal in mind, and you came up with a easy to do strategy that you were committed to the end result, and you would do it in bite-sized pieces as often as you could. And putting it into Google Drive, that's brilliant because it's always there wherever you are, as long as you have the internet. And you could just put it in there. And the other thing I like too is you didn't say, well, I'm going to write 365 passages. You're going to write 400 and then call out the ones that aren't worthy of the book. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, and when you're writing 365 passages, sometimes you do the same quote 4 times. And and that was actually fun because then you actually got to pick I had 4 different versions of what I was thinking about that quote. So that was actually a fun part of it. It was also very rewarding to go back and read what you worked on 6 months, 9 months prior and be like, did I write that? I didn't. That's not my words. That's actually pretty impressive. And so it was nice to have that distance a lot of times when you write an article, you're posting it, you see it right away, you're in tune with it. But I might write something and not read it again for 9 months. And it was very rewarding to go back and read your words at a later date and see where and then also it's really fun because it builds on itself. As each time I picked out a quote, I would find a new word and I'd be like, oh, that's customer delight. And then I would spend, like, for the next 10 passages, I would dig into that concept and say, I'm going to find more quotes that are similar to this. And so it was just really fun to dig down on the concepts. I think delight, I came up with a term or my own little quote, and I said, delight is in the heart of the beholder. And I think as a customer service professional, it's kind of like the WIFM, what's in it for me, what's in it for them, what's in it for them. And so when you're trying to create an experience for your customer, you want to get into their mindset. You want to find out what they want and deliver what they need, not what makes me happy, what makes Phil happy, what makes my client happy. And so it's just really digging into those concepts throughout the book.
Interesting. I'm trying something new. I'm not in my normal studio, so I'm going to see if I can make this happen. Oh, I think I can. Watch this. Look, share this. So what I've got up on the screen there right now, I think you should be able to see a LinkedIn profile. Do you see that, Brian?
I do. I see it.
Awesome.
I see me.
Cool. And I'm going to leave that up here for a little bit. It's your name, your contact. So if people are looking for you and want to jam with an air guitarist, this is where they can get connected with you. Because you might need an air drummer, right?
Yeah.
Or an air bass player. I mean, you've got to have the whole ensemble, right?
I've been known to fill in on air drums occasionally as well. So I am multi-talented in the air instrument field.
That's very cool. And I just learned something new about technology. In my office studio, I have 4 monitors, and I can see everything where it is. This is on a laptop, and if I hadn't have told you, you guys wouldn't have really known what's going on. But I don't mind being authentic.
No, I mean, it's hard to run a show on a laptop, so I'm impressed.
I've learned a lot of things while I've been away. I've been having a blast. He's a great guy. I'm glad to be hanging out with my buddy in Manitoba this week. And but I'm also really grateful that we were able to connect today and talk a little bit about you and your book and LinkedIn. So for people who want to get to know where you are, it's right there on the screen. We're leaving it there for a little bit more. If I was to ask you if there was a nugget or a life hack or mindset hack, what would you offer up to our audience?
My hack is this, and I believe in something called inspired action. And so my hack is this: is that when you're inspired, just think about being inspired. Very next thing that happens when you're inspired is imposter syndrome. It fires up, goes through the roof. You may not realize it. You become accustomed to not noticing it. But when you're inspired, the very next thing that shows up is imposter syndrome. It's my belief that if you can move to action immediately, you can knock that energy down that imposter syndrome's bringing. So I personally have a motto that I try to move to action as soon as possible on anything. I like to build things live. I like to take chances. I like to take risks because I know that if I sit back and wait, my self-doubt will rise. And then I will come up with excuses, reasons why I don't move forward. So very much how you and I met through our Megamind group. We all decided to start going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, all these places. You guys were my spirit heroes in life. We are a group of people that take action. So I also believe this. A lot of people. So it's called the I am model, which is I for inspired, action, A for action, and that builds momentum. And so you have to step into action, and then you'll gain momentum. And then following momentum, you find something called passion. And so that's my tip for today, is that most people believe that passion comes before action, and they're wrong. Passion always follows action. We lost a little bit of audio there.
That's because I muted.
You were getting a little too confident on this laptop show management, Phil.
Apparently. Anyway, I like what you're saying. I think the passion or the emotion is the fuel to action. You can't just think about it because nothing will happen. You've got to. I like inspired action. That's one of my favorite. A couple of words together is to think about what the end result would be like writing a book. What would it feel like if it was already done? And then that pulls you, not pushes you, towards the target, whether it be writing a book or going on a holiday or whatever it might be, whatever. It doesn't matter what the goal is. It's just got to matter to you. And one of the things I like about what I'm about, and the group, one of the other groups I'm involved with, is called Positive Intelligence, or PQ. And what we talk about is there's 10 saboteurs. One is the major one is the judge. We all have that, and then we have 9 supporting cast. Some of us don't have all 9, and some do. And what ends up happening is they're the negative fight and flight thinking processes that we have, versus the PQ side, which is the sage. And there's 5 sages that will take us into the creative, get shit done, momentum, mind building, things like improv and empathy, and a few other things like that, to help you get to where you would like to get to without talking yourself out of it, so you can get away from the imposter syndrome. We all face it, whether you're a coach, a lawyer, an accountant, an athlete, doesn't matter. We all have these things. So at the end of the show today, when I wrap this up, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a saboteur assessment. No charge. It's free. I would encourage you to book a briefing with me, 20 minutes, to understand some of the things that you're going to learn in there. I jumped into the commercial before. But I don't know if you noticed, my voice is a little bit different. In all of the months that COVID's been around, I finally got nabbed.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but fortunately, it just feels like a flu to me, so that's good. So nothing catastrophic is happening, so that's a good thing. Yeah, so I want to thank you, buddy Brian, brother Brian, buddy Brian, for being here with me and spending a little bit of time. I appreciate that, and I look forward to lots of things, seeing your posts on LinkedIn, because you do a lot of activity there. You're inspiring people to pay attention to what you're up to. I really like that. And again, I want to thank you for being here.
Thanks, Phil. It was definitely a pleasure to talk about how to live a great life. And there's no right answer for any of this. It's trial, error. But you get some good people, somebody like a Coach Phil. Go ahead and do your plug here. But you get a Coach Phil at your back, and you can make some great progress on those saboteurs and get in touch with the sage. So I'm going to go ahead and take that assessment. I didn't know about that, so I'm looking forward to taking that.
And let's catch up and do the debrief, and so you can understand what it's all about. It's been a game changer for me.
So, yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, and look forward to the next time. Hopefully I'll have a new book by then. Who knows? And we'll get things moving.
Sounds terrific. Well, I'm just going to put him into the green room for a little bit, because I have the control. I have the power, but I don't know how to do it anymore. There we go. Wasn't that great to hear him talk about his journey, about his book, and some of his philosophies to things he's gone through, and some nuggets for all of us to glean on and add to our arsenal of get shit done. So, positiveintelligence.com/saboteurs. Once you've done it, shoot me your assessment link. I don't get notification, so if you would like to have a debrief, I'm happy to do that. We'll book a time, but send me the report in the subject and say, yes, I'm ready, and let's get after it. So I'm going to bring this show to a wrap here with something I like to bring on, and it was shown to me by a mentor of mine, and that is the word wonderful with the U in it. I encourage all of you to be your unique self, because you truly are wonderful. You is representing you, and you are all unique. So continue being your unique, wonderful self. And again, the assessment was in the show recording. So if you would like to do that, happy to jump on a call and help you understand what it really all means. Until next time, I'm Coach Phil, host of the Business Renovator. That's a wrap for the show.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the